assumption of the first judge to tackle the question is the one who should get us to uniformity. Instead, the right way to get to uniformity is through appellate precedent, which, as Justice Kagan said, is the normal process.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Britt. Senator Klobuchar?
Yep, just two more questions here of you, Professor Vladeck. Federal judges, we were going through NIH and what that would mean if you had to have an individual case in every single grant in every single jurisdiction of the country, which is why we have this ability on the nationwide front. Let's look at something else. Federal judges blocked the administration's funding freeze that jeopardized everything from community health centers to child care to infrastructure to support for law enforcement. Can you talk about the impact if those judges had not been able to issue a nationwide injunction, including on non-parties?
Sure. I mean, I think we would have seen, Senator, overnight, tons of entities that depend upon those federal funds to provide vital services to everyone, just having to close up shop and not being able to provide those services because they don't have the money. And so, you know, Professor Bray is right that the question is uniformity at what point. I think part of what has not been fully explicated in our conversation this morning is that one of the justifications for uniformity earlier rather than later is irreparable harm. And is the notion that but for this kind of relief at this early juncture, Mr. Panuccio has been attacking TROs for most of this hearing. TROs are based on the idea that the harm the party is facing is so urgent that there's not time for the ordinary process. And I think we really haven't done a lot this morning to talk about how these policies are harming people in ways that create, to me, extraordinary justifications for these kinds of judicial interventions.
Okay, last one. Judges have blocked the administration's plans to empower Elon Musk to rummage through American Social Security information, my words, probably not the words in the law, and get access to their bank accounts, tax returns. This is all the Doge related looking at things. If judges had not been able to issue a nationwide injunction, what would be the impact on the American people?
I mean, again, it's different story, different facts, same problem, right? Which is, you know, you'd need retail litigation by, you know, every American whose Social Security information has been compromised, or you would need to somehow overcome the insuperable barriers that the Supreme Court has created for class certification. And so, you know, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, Senator, but it seems to me that those who are averse to nationwide injunctions, but not to the notion that the federal government should be acting within the confines of the law, should actually be supportive of reforms that would strengthen the nationwide class action as a procedurally proper and historically precedented device for restraining the executive when the lawlessness is on such a wide scale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Ranking member.
I want to ask a question of Mr. Panuccio, and I think you addressed this earlier, and I want to make sure there's a clarity, at least in my mind, on your response. President Trump's executive orders attacking a number of law firms because they employed attorneys who were involved in litigation or represented clients that he did not approve of. I also understand that he is withdrawing security clearances for some members of those law firms, which of course would impact their client relationship and their ability to do work. What is the impact of those executive orders on the targeted firms?
Ranking Member Durbin, you would have to ask those law firms what the impact has been.
What message do you think these executive orders send to the legal community more broadly?
I think you'd have to ask the legal community more broadly.
I'm asking you. You're with a law firm, and it's not unreasonable to ask you, has it come up in conversation in the last 2 weeks among your colleagues?
Well, it's not what I was invited here to testify about,
Well,
Senator. I think all of these law firms have the ability, if as with any party in this country, to seek individual relief in a court, as many of them are doing.
Yeah. So you kind of think just routine legal work.
Routine, well, challenging an executive order, whether it was in the Biden administration or this administration or the Bush administration, has become routine in this country, and the courts are open for those individuals to seek redress.
Professor Vladeck, do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't mean to repeat myself from before, Senator. I just think that, you know, we should all be invested, and by we, I mean lawyers, law professors, members of Congress. The courts thrive when they are receiving the best possible arguments from the members of the bar. And, you know, I think everyone's going to have their own views on who has weaponized what against whom. I think the notion that we should be getting to a place where the executive branch is openly threatening law firms in contexts in which those threats are designed to prevent lawsuits against the federal government jeopardizes the very accountability that separation of powers exists to protect.
Professor Bray?
I think you need a strong and independent bar to represent the interests of all the people in the United States.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ranking Member. And because we allowed them additional questioning, Senator Britt, would you like to have any additional questions?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Mr. Panuccio, as someone who worked at DOJ, what's your response to the argument of the universal injunctions are a good thing to help prevent having to relitigate the same issue in multiple jurisdictions?
Thank you, Senator. That's not how our multi-tiered hierarchical court system works. The whole point, the first ground for the Supreme Court to take jurisdiction over a case, the reason it will grant cert, as they say, number one reason they will say is if there is a circuit split. Well, how can we ever have a circuit split if we have a district court, which is lower than a circuit, issue a rule for the whole country?
Right.
The whole point is we have percolation. We have over 1,000 district judges in this country to apply their judicial reasoning. And Justice Ginsburg, it's in my written testimony, she had a very eloquent explanation of why percolation, why getting different decisions from different judicial minds is important. So it is not within our historical tradition to have one judge set a rule for the whole country and have that uniformity. That's not what our legal foundation is built upon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.